right, so we got to talk about the Trump indictments. This is the punk apostate, and I am Brantley, and yeah, we got to do it. We just got to do it. You know, it keeps coming up, and so I guess we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and talk about this dude. So yeah, it's we and I found this is from I found a video from Flashpoint. We're gonna watch a couple minutes of that because that's always entertaining to kind of watch the freak out. You know, as it as it applies to the people who are crazy obsessed with Trump and he can do nothing wrong. I mean, this show Flashpoint treats him like he is a god, like he is a maybe not a god, not maybe not like the god, right? But it's like he is a demigod, like he was, like Hercules, right? That track. No, that's insane. That's insane and crazy. But that's what makes it entertaining. All right, let's check it out. This is from Flashpoint.
Lance Wallnau, John Graves. Good to have them here. Give them a hand, would you? Yeah. Good to be with you.
Wow,
All
look at that
so
crowd.
The big thing in the news is the Trump indictment that just got handed down. Lance, let's get your take first on what does this really all mean?
Well, and John and I were talking about the timing of it is obvious. They schedule the indictment and then the one that will follow probably from Georgia so that it's going to interrupt the campaign. It's going to put Trump in an awkward position where he's a front runner. And then everyone's going to wonder about, is he too toxic to be able to carry over the finish line? But I think that it's going to have a reverse effect. I think a lot of the people that are curious enough, the independents is what you really want to look for. 7 swing states, our side's going to be out in space. It's going to be
it's amazing to me. I feel like it's that right wingers do the opposite of what the left wingers do. And I know obviously that sounds like, yeah, duh, no kidding. They're the opposite of that. But no, I mean, what I mean by that is left-leaning people are very bleak a lot of times. We're just, it's never going to happen. Like even with the Trump indictments, it's not going to stick. Nothing's going to happen. It's just not going to, like, we're just very kind of just like, cynical almost about everything as far as and they are completely the opposite. They're like, it's gonna have the opposite effect. This indictment is just gonna, it's like they can never believe that anything will not go exactly their way. It's amazing. Now, I wish I had that kind of confidence. It's just in general, I wish I had that confidence. Like nothing. No, this is gonna actually work in his favor. He's gonna go to jail. And then from jail, be the president. And it's going to be, first jailed president acting as president while in jail. It'll be incredible. Like
the independents you got to look at. And who's going to they're going to listen to? They're going to be listening to, oddly enough, not us, but they'll be listening to guys like Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Russell Brand. And they're all on the side of something screwed up with the government. This looks like a hostile government. It's irresponsible, and that's going to have a massive.
Is that like, I mean, Joe Rogan, okay, but like, is that, and Peterson, fine, but like Russell Brand's like that too? I guess that track, God damn it. What is wrong with all the centrists? They're not centrists.
It's an impact on independence.
What, John, your take?
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because the three of us have talked about this before the first indictment. When the first one came out, we talked about.
What is this haircut? What is this? This looks like something outside. It looks like something from like an action movie in like the late 80s, early 90s, right at that like, crossover point from 80s to 90s. Yeah, it's just wow. Jesus. Okay.
This is kind of the strategy of the left.
It's distracting
because it assures that Trump's going to for sure be the nominee, which they hopefully falsely believe is going to be the way that they can win. But the other thing that it does is it damages him with the independents and with the Democrats even further. Part of why he won was because Hillary was so well defined and so well hated by the right. So they're trying to make him so well defined and so hated by the left
and by the leftists. I mean, let's be frank here. Okay. Hillary, like the leftists were not a fan of Hillary. Okay. The only people it seemed that were fans of Hillary were the libs, like just the ultra, I call them like centrist, basically libs. They are on the left, but they are, the liberals. That's who was, and then the leftists kind of like also recognize, okay, that's the only person there is to vote for now. She won. We got to support it. And that was it. But like, she really didn't have the support of many people on the, sort of far to far left.
And to bring in as many independents. And you're seeing half of the Republicans in all the polls. He's holding half of them. Half of them are kind of split up between the other 12 people, and they're willing to kick the tires. But Trump, they know what they get, the good and the bad. Somebody else, they're going, is there an improvement here? And so far, we're not really seeing an improvement.
What John said is so important, Gene. They had, it's like what was weird with the last election was, it wasn't that Trump was more popular. It was that Hillary was less liked. And that's to a great extent what happened.
Wow.
But Joe Biden is becoming.
Well, and we also got to keep in mind with the last one, and this is what, they don't really understand a lot of like how this type of stuff actually works. And so a lot of what I think ended up happening the first time was that we were way overconfident. I know I was like, Hillary's got this in the bag, man. It's like, there's not even any point to vote. Like, it's just so obvious. Nobody's going to vote for that doof, And of course we were wrong. I was wrong. That was dumb. I should have voted for Hillary Clinton straight up.
The nuclear waste on the Democratic ticket. And the more that they trivialize and spin his absolute complicity in being a crook, the more he is going to be vilified, and you're going to see a massive eye roll. They've got to deal with their own toxic problem.
Yeah, and so, well, let me before we go any further, let me play this clip for you. The Jack Smith press conference. Watch this video.
Oh, awesome!
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens here in the District of Columbia, and it sets forth the crimes charged in detail. I encourage everyone to read it in full. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6th, 2021, was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election.
All right. So they keep hammering this January 6th.
It's funny too, because like they stopped it a little bit early there, but he said something about like we're make sure we try to secure his right to a speedy trial, and it was so funny. There's this crazy guy, Shane Vaughn. I was looking for the video, I couldn't find it. I was going to pull it up, but he was like insane about that. He has a video of himself pacing around his house, like walking in circles around his house, filming himself, just yelling and saying, and he kept on talking about how, you can't, there is no such thing as a speedy, the right to a speedy trial for the people indicting him. And he just kept repeating that. He's like, what dummies? They're so dumb. They don't even, I was like, what? Did he actually say that? And went and looked it up. No, he didn't say that. This dude's so stupid. He's just so angry. These crazy, like Trump obsessed people are so angry that they're not even able to think. They're just like, he messed up his words right there. I got him, and they're just making up stuff. And it's like so clear that he made a mistake. He was the one that was the dummy that didn't. It was so funny. Yeah, we'll let this keep going for a minute, and then we're going to go through the indictments and see what we got going here, because I'm kind of like I haven't really been keeping up with it, so we're all going to learn about this together.
I don't, the temperatures that we take on the American public, they're not buying. They know there were some bad players there. They know this, and it's like, why really you're going to indict him now on this? This seems to be. Is it a grasp for a straw for something to pull in, or is this just part of the plan?
I think it's what Lance said, and what you're saying is part of the plan.
It's crazy that, like, or is he actually a person who did like crimes? Is he actually being finally held responsible for the crimes he definitely committed. Like that's not even an option. Like he's like, is it like this or is it like that? And either one of the options was, or is he actually a criminal? You know, because that's just not allowed to even be considered.
And it's almost like there's some Hollywood directors on the left that are holding these indictments until every major thing blows up with Biden or Hunter Biden. So yesterday, there's this shocking bombshell testimony of the Bidens and their brand and he's the boss, right, and all, you know, all that kind of get a burner phone, all of that stuff breaks, and then they release this. It's like a Hollywood directed thing where they're trying to distract people from there. But
I honestly don't know what he's talking about, but like I was talking about this sort of stuff with a friend of mine, and like it seems like every single time like news of a Trump indictment comes out, they try to like do, it's the opposite of what they're saying. They're trying to do like, oh, Biden's this and Hunter Biden that. Hunter Biden has nothing to do with anything. He doesn't even work in the White House, unlike Trump's kids who did work in the fucking White House. It's so obnoxious how they try to be like both sides when it's like not the same at all on both sides. The Bidens are nothing in comparison to the crime family of the Trumps, and it's coming down the pipe. Like we're actually seeing the indictments. We haven't seen jack shit for the Bidens at all, you know. And the one time that he had that box or whatever, the box of classified documents, they asked for it, he was like, okay, and gave it right back. You know, it's because stuff does get mishandled. Like the documents do get mishandled at times, but it was the holding on to them that was the problem with Trump. But anyway,
notice what you just said. January 6th, the bad actors were there. They're not in the indictment.
Right.
This whole thing was funneled on the January 6th, false selection committee. And so every bit of that stuff ignores the bad actors, ignores that Trump incited this. It is the weakest thing, Gene. It is so weak. He's basically saying, hey, I want everybody to read it. Why? Because I want you to be distracted from the other problems that we have, like Lance just said.
All right. Well, let me show you this clip, Jonathan Turley, on the same subject. Watch.
The DOJ, the special counsel,
Fox.
Democrats.
Of course, they got to watch Fox. You know, they can't just get a normal
run.
normal
That's what the Republicans charge. Are looking at a box of chocolates here, and they're just trying to figure out the best chocolate to go after the former president to prevent him from being president again.
Wow.
Well, I think this indictment is going to fulfill that narrative.
It's crazy that if you're a politician, a Republican politician, right, and you're trying to run for president, you could basically just commit as many crimes as possible, and then when anybody tries to hold you responsible for you, be like, I'm just this political hit job. You know, it's just because I can be president. And they don't want it. You know, so that's why they're coming after me.
I think that the indictment does not have this compelling level of evidence. I thought Mar-a-Lago was strong, and
oh man, the guy that they brought on to Trump Trump News. I mean, Fox News doesn't think that they really got anything, that's compelling against Trump.
Said so. So did Andy.
Of course, man.
This doesn't have that. And I also have to tell you, I was equally critical of Merrick Garland in his statement 30 minutes ago. He's constantly taking the role of a pedestrian in all of this. This is a time when you want an attorney general to look at an indictment and say, wait, is this all you have? Because this is stretching the law, and it's a speaking indictment that doesn't say enough. But he clearly didn't do that. And I think that this is going to end up.
Yeah. And they of course, got to play that up to the nth degree. They have to make it seem like, oh, it's a big nothing burger. It's always a big nothing burger. That's the way they have to function. So let's take a look now at the indictments. I have a Politico article that we can look at, and we can kind of see, let's just walk through. And I'll skim through. I don't think I'm going to read the whole thing, but I would like to read a lot of it. So this is a Politico article, and it's tracking the Trump criminal cases, right? A definitive guide to the key players and legal risks in the 4 criminal probes of Donald Trump. Now, I believe this is fairly recent. If I'm not mistaken, it said it was 6 days ago. So let's take a look at the January 6th case. In the 2 months between Election Day in 2020 and January 6, 2021, Trump mounted a wide-ranging campaign to subvert Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election. Trump and his advisors spread false information about voter fraud, urged Republican state officials to undermine the results in states that Biden won, assembled false slates of electors, and pressured Mike Pence, the vice president, to unilaterally toss out the legitimate results. The effort culminated on January 6th when a mob of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol and disrupted the peaceful transfer of power. Federal prosecutors led by special counsel Jack Smith have charged Trump with 4 federal crimes stemming from his attempts to derail the transfer of power. So the status is Smith's January 6th investigation followed the work of the House Select Committee on January 6th attack, which voted in December 2022 to refer Trump along with lawyer John Eastman to the Justice Department for prosecution. A Washington grand jury met for months, and her testimony from many former Trump aides. You got to keep that in mind. This was not like Democrats showing up and being like, bad, Trump, bad. You did the bad. No, these are people that worked for Trump. And so, yeah, they can't really say that it's a political hit job when it's your own side. People that are Republicans are the ones coming and bringing these cases against him and bringing the evidence. Right, Trump aides and officials in the Trump White House, including Pence. Pence himself testified. So, all right, on August 1st, 2023, the grand jury approved an indictment against Trump, charging him with an extraordinary conspiracy that threatened to disenfranchise millions of Americans. Here's the charges. 2 felony counts, including 1 conspiracy count of obstructing an official proceeding under 18 U.S.C. 1512, 1 felony count of conspiracy to defraud the United States under 18 U.S.C. 371, 1 felony count of conspiracy against rights under that one. Trump has been charged with 4 crimes, so he has been charged in the investigation, 2 related to the disruption of Congress or certification of the electoral vote on January 6th. 1 alleges a scheme to defraud the United States through a sustained effort to impede the collection, counting, and certification of votes in the 2020 election. And the 4th charge accuses Trump of a conspiracy to deprive citizens of a right secured under federal law, specifically the right to vote and to have one's vote counted. Strength of the case. Let's see what we got here. Trump's efforts to subvert the election were extensive, well documented, and largely in public view. He and his allies spread lies about voter fraud and stoked the protests that led to the January 6th attack. Many of the top aides in the Trump administration testified to the grand jury, giving investigators remarkable insight into what was happening privately in Trump's orbit during the critical 2-month period, and perhaps providing important evidence about Trump's state of mind. Pence, who resisted Trump's pressure to try to annul the, I almost said anal. Yeah, that's good. All right. Annul the election results on January 6th was the most notable witness. Others, including Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, his White House counsel, Pat Cipollone, Cipollone, I don't know, his national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, and his senior policy advisor, Stephen Miller. Oh, God, the lizard man. Trump may argue that his statements, so this is the weakness of the case now, because those are the strengths, that is very, very strong. But this is what he's going to try to exploit to try to get out of this legally, right? So Trump may argue that his statements about the 2020 election were protected by the First Amendment or that in challenging the election, he was merely relying on the advice of lawyers. Okay. A president seeking to impede the peaceful transfer of power is unprecedented in American history, and the attempt to hold him legally accountable is similarly unprecedented. Some of the legal theories that prosecutors may rely on, like applying the conspiracy against rights statute to the context here, may raise novel issues that have rarely been tested in court. So who could pardon him? Here's the charges are all federal crimes. So if Trump is reelected president, he could pardon himself, though the validity of a presidential self-pardon is unsettled. Yeah, because that'd be fucking crazy, right? Like I feel like that sounds insane. That he can basically do all these crimes to like attempting to steal power, right? Then use, because I think this was his plan the whole time, was do all the crimes, right? But he expected to win, though, right? He expected it to work. One of his many tricks, right? And he was expecting to then get the presidency, then have himself be investigated and have it all be indicted and all this, but then just get to pardon himself because he's president. I think that was his plan the entire time. I'm not totally sure about that, but it certainly seems like that could have easily been the case. The classified documents case. Okay, so this is the misuse of the classified documents, right? The federal prosecutors, led by special counsel Jack Smith, have accused Trump of taking highly sensitive national security documents when he left the White House in January 2021. He stashed those documents haphazardly throughout his Mar-a-Lago resort and obstructed the government's repeated attempts to retrieve them. Just like I was saying earlier, he was they tried to ask him, for him. And he was just like, yeah, okay. And then he gave some back, and then, it's the whole thing. Prosecutors allege on at least 2 occasions, Trump showed classified documents to individuals who were not authorized to view them. That's what prosecutors say. Anyway, okay. During one of those episodes, which was audio recorded, he recorded himself doing it. Trump allegedly displayed a top secret military plan of attack while telling visitors, as quote, as president, I could have declassified it, but now I can't, adding that the document he was showing them was still a secret. So he basically said that he knew that he was doing a crime and did it anyway, and recorded himself saying that he was doing a crime while he was doing it. It's just the level of stupid of this shit is amazing. I can't. Wow. I and it's crazy that people get arrested for jaywalking, and like punks like us get arrested for standing places. But this dude it takes everything. I mean, he can say that he's doing a crime while he's doing a crime, and we're still like, I don't know, it probably won't. Nothing will probably come from this. This is the status of the indictment. In early 2022, the Justice Department opened up an investigation into Trump's retention of classified documents after his presidency. In June 2022, a Trump lawyer avowed that Trump had turned over all classified records. 2 months later, the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago and seized 102 documents with classified markings. Smith was appointed in November 2022 to lead the investigation. And for months, a federal grand jury in Washington, D.C. reviewed evidence and heard testimony, including testimony from some of Trump's own lawyers. You know what's really funny? And this is still a punk show. Okay, it's a punk show. Here, let me tell you why. Here's why. It's kind of funny because when the day that he got the day in 2022 that he got raided, and you never believe this, was August 8th. So if you know who NoFX is and you know that song, it's so funny how that happened on that day specifically, since we saw a bunch of Trumpers cry in, And August 8th was a beautiful day. All right. Anyway, moving on. Smith's team then sought an indictment from a grand jury in Florida. On June 9th, 2023, that indictment was unsealed, charging Trump with 37 felonies and his longtime aide with Walt Nada with 6 felonies. Trump pleaded not guilty at an arraignment in Miami on June 13th. On July 27th, 2023, Smith's team unveiled revised indictment known as a superseding indictment, adding 3 new felony charges against Trump and 2 new felony charges against Nada. The superseding indictment also added a 3rd defendant, Carlos de Oliveira, a Mar-a-Lago employee who is charged with 4 felonies. The superseding indictment includes a new allegations that Trump, Nada, and de Oliveira sought to destroy security camera footage at Mar-a-Lago after investigators tried to obtain the footage. Which is so insane. Do they not think that people can count? Like they think that people can't see numbers. That like numbers don't exist as long as it has to do with security cameras. Like, oh, we can see where it's missing, man. Here's the date and time up to a certain time. Now it's not there. Oh, and then it picks back up again. We can count. Okay, we could see the date. We can, numbers matter. They thought like they could just delete a big chunk of it and be like, what are you talking about? It's just no, it skipped that day wasn't it. Thursday was after Tuesday. It's like, no, it's not, you fucking weirdo. Like, come on, man. This is not difficult. On July 27, 2023, Smith's team unveiled a revised indictment. Oh my bad. All right. Charges 32 felony counts of willful retention of national defense information in violation of the Espionage Act. 6 felony counts of obstruction related crimes under all that, yada, yada, yada. All right, let's see the strengths of the case. That's what's really important. Most legal experts, including conservatives, have described Smith's indictments as laying out an exceptionally persuasive case. It contains evidence from Trump's own statements, including one caught on tape, that he knew he was not authorized to retain classified material, but did so anyway. Evidence of obstruction, including instructing his aides to move boxes around or destroy security footage, and apparently suggesting to his lawyer that he concealed documents from the FBI, is similarly compelling. Trump also seems to have publicly admitted that he knowingly held on to the documents after he left the White House. During a CNN town hall in May 2023, Trump said he took the documents because he was allowed to. That was a quote. He was allowed to. In fact, the Presidential Records Act makes clear that presidential documents are property of the federal government, not an outgoing president. And multiple federal laws tightly control how classified documents can be viewed and stored. That's awesome. Okay. But let's look at the weakness of the case now. All right. I feel like that's pretty fucking solid, if you ask me. Okay. It's going to be difficult to kind of wiggle out of, admitting that you did it on tape. That'll be a tough one. But let's see. So while he was president, Trump had broad authority to declassify documents. If Trump could show that he declassified the records at issue before he left the White House, he may be able to undermine the charges. To date, however, there is no evidence that Trump did so. That's the problem. And pesky evidence, it's difficult. It's just, man, if you could just have that evidence, you know what I mean? It's almost like he just I could see Trump just calling up, his lawyer and be like, could you just make sure you just give me some evidence? I need to just find it. Okay, just hand over the evidence that shows that I declassified it well ahead of time. Okay. I don't know why my Trump impression makes him sound completely insane, but he is. So you know what? Never mind. The prosecution may have received an unlucky break when the case was assigned to Judge Eileen Cannon, a Trump appointee who has a history of issuing rulings that are highly favorable to Trump. Great. So, all right, let me finish this and then we'll talk about something for a second. She will have broad authority over both the pace of the proceedings and a slew of pretrial litigation, such as potential disputes over whether information obtained from Trump's lawyers can be admitted as evidence. Okay, that's a fucking problem. And this is what I wanted to kind of like, we need to talk about this for a minute. The reason why this is so difficult with Trump is because it's a cult, right? And the problem is very powerful people are part of this cult. So and it's difficult to tell who is or isn't in on the cult, and so it's very difficult to be able to parse this out. And just all it would take was a couple people with a shitload of fucking power to be in the cult and be like, nah, he didn't do anything wrong. And there's literally nothing we can do. We just got to be like, fuck, and because he has that kind of pull with his psycho cult following base. It's insane. Let's see who could pardon him. The charges are all federal crimes. So if Trump is reelected president, he could pardon himself. Yeah, we kind of went over that. Okay, now this is the last one I think we're going to go over, right? This is New York State Court. It's great. He is just committing crimes all over the fucking country. It's insane. Trump is accused of falsifying business records in connection with a payoff to Stormy Daniels. Oh, it's the porn star one. Okay, a porn star who claimed she had a sexual encounter with him. By buying Daniels' silence, the payoff avoided a possible sex scandal in the final weeks of the 2016 presidential campaign. Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney and fixer at the time, paid $130,000 to Daniels in October 2016, according to prosecutors. Then, while in the White House, Trump reimbursed Cohen in a series of installment payments processed by Trump's company. Prosecutors say Trump fraudulently disguised those installments as corporate legal expenses in violation of New York law. Jesus. Okay, so yeah, he fucking paid off a porn star. Like, he is the most. He came into this thing corrupt, and not only that, but he was like fucking like he was doing this type of stuff while his wife was pregnant. Like, I know that's not a crime, but it's really gross, man. Like, if morality means anything to the people that support him, which it's supposed to, seeing as how they're judgy as all get out for everything and everybody, but except for Trump for some reason, but apparently he got saved, so it's okay. He got saved. He's got Jesus now. The blood of Jesus, that blood is just all over Trump, just washing him white as snow. The blood stuff just gets me. What the fuck? Why do they talk about being covered in blood? Anyway, all right. The status. On March 30th, 2023, a Manhattan grand jury voted to indict Trump. 5 days later, local prosecutors unveiled the criminal charges, 34 felony counts of violating a New York law on corporate record keeping. In an extraordinary courthouse appearance, Trump turned himself into the authorities, was processed as a criminal defendant, pleaded not guilty, and was released without having to post bail. The billionaire doesn't have to post bail. That's great. That's fucking sure. Yeah, not a two-tiered system at all. Prosecutors in Trump's defense team are currently dealing with evidentiary issues and litigating pretrial disputes, including a long shot bid from Trump to transfer the case to federal court. A trial is scheduled for March 25th, 2024. There's 34 the charges, 34 felony counts. Jesus, that's insane. All right, let's see the strength of the case. Cohen, the man who arranged the hush money payments, has turned against Trump. He is likely to testify for the prosecution. That's pretty strong. That's a good thing. Prosecutors have evidence of other hush money payments that Trump arranged to cover up damaging stories in the run-up to the 2016 election that suggests a coordinated effort to help his campaign rather than merely to avoid personal embarrassment, a key issue that could determine whether the Daniels payoff violated election law. I doubt it. The weakness of the case: elevating the business records into felonies by linking them to an underlying federal election violation would be a novel legal theory that would test the interaction of state and federal laws. Okay. Yeah. Trump's legal team may portray the Daniels payoff as a private matter and the charges themselves as technical bookkeeping violations, too insubstantial to justify criminal charges against a former president. Yeah, this one's not. I don't think this one's going to work at all. This is nothing. It should be. It should be something, but I don't. It just doesn't sound like it's anything to me. Damn, there's still another one. Okay. All right, one more real quick, and then we'll so this is the Georgia. This is the Georgia interface investigation, right? Interference. I said interface. The Georgia election interference investigation. In December 2022 or 2020, keep seeing twos. In January 2021, Trump sought to overturn the results of the presidential election in the state of Georgia. 2 recounts confirmed that Joe Biden narrowly prevailed in the race for the state's 16 electoral votes. But Trump and his allies spread lies about voter fraud, urged Georgia officials to reverse Biden's win, and plotted to send fake electors to Washington. On January 2nd, 2021, Trump called Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and urged him to find 11,780 votes. This is what I was just referencing earlier. For Trump, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis is leading the investigation into possible election meddling. Status. In February 2021, Willis opened the criminal investigation in January 2023 after hearing evidence for 7 months. A special grand jury released a report, most of which remains under seal. The recommending potential indictments, Willis must now ask a regular grand jury to approve any criminal charges. She plans to announce any charges this summer. Okay. Let's see the strength of the case, right? Trump's efforts to undo the Georgia results were based on blatant falsehoods and were largely conducted out in the open. His phone call to Raffensperger was recorded. Shit. He keeps doing stuff when he's being recorded, man. That's crazy. 8 Republican activists who falsely claim to be the state's presidential electors for Trump have taken immunity deals and have agreed to cooperate with Willis. Shit, so they're going to turn him in. That's good. That is good. Except that, they said they're going to, so let's hope it all works out. But the weakness of the case, okay. A local prosecutor charging a former president with election interference would be unprecedented in American history. I swear they use this so often as if it's some kind of like, oh, since it's unprecedented, he gets away with it. That's how that goes. But I mean, that is actually how this works a lot of times, because you have judges and stuff deciding on this shit without any precedent. And that's how he ends up getting away with a lot of shit. Anyway, Trump, because he's the only person that's ever done this much shit like this. We've never had people do this much open corruption and just committing crimes. It's out in the open, doing it, recording, and he doesn't give a fuck. We've never had anybody that's this fucking brazen about it. Trump may claim he is immune from being prosecuted for actions he took while he was still president. He also might argue that his statements about the Georgia results are protected by the First Amendment. God, yeah, probably. Many of the potential crimes that Trump could be charged with include an intent element. Trump could argue that he lacked criminal intent because he genuinely believed he won the election. Yeah, that's I unfortunately I do see that probably being an issue there. It's just this stuff is difficult. And it sucks that Trump seems to be as slippery as he is, but he is just that he is exactly that slippery. Um I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't want to put my opinion on this as saying I know that these are actually going to work and actually go through and actually nail them down. I'm going to be honest. I might be a bit of a cynic. I kind of think that he's a billionaire and he's next president, and I don't think that any of this stuff is really going to hurt him too bad. And it's even possible that these indictments might actually embolden his base to come out and vote for him again. So I don't know. I'm definitely worried about it. I hope that some of this nails him down. I really hope that he takes out DeSantis and some of these other Republican primary people before it takes him out, especially DeSantis. He's the big one. I do not want to be president. I wouldn't, if I had to pick between Trump and DeSantis, which is a fucking Sophie's choice of shit, I know, but I would take Trump all day over DeSantis. DeSantis is fucking insane and disgusting. But all right, John. Well, and hey, you should, so all this political talk might, make you, well, a little bit frisky. You should go to adamandeve.com, enter code word Brentley at checkout to get 3 free gifts, 50% off almost any one item, 6 free movies, and free shipping on the entire order. Just go to adamandeve.com and enter code word Brentley at checkout. And I am telling you, they have got some stuff. All right. If you if you like fun, and who doesn't like fun? Especially this kind of fun. This fun is, it almost doesn't, it's almost not fair to call it fun because it's beyond fun, then you will love adamandeve.com. It's incredible. It's like a superstore, like Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club of porn, like of sex toys. You know what I mean? Of marital aids, if you want to, except that I don't like using the word AIDS in there. I feel like that just kills the whole thing. Of marital fun toys. There we go. That fixed it. All right, y'all. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. Really appreciate it. We also have a slew of ways to support the show that'll all be in the show notes. And so make sure you gotta stay logical, loving, skeptical, and compassionate. And we will see you next time.